AskReddit by 99 restaurant. People whose homes have dog-cat doors. Have wild animals ever entered your pet doors, and what happened when that occurred? I lived in an apartment that backed up to an open field for a while and had a real raccoon issue. Once they figured out that the cat door was occasionally open after I left it open one night when was out late, they would show up in a gang of 5-7 every night and bang in the slider and try to get in. TH apartment was a studio with a slightly lofted bedroom, and one evening was sitting on the couch working and saw what thought was my cat wander down into the living room and hop up onto the couch next to me. I reached out to give her a scratch and noticed in my periphery that her body language was off. That was when I turned to look at her and realized it was a raccoon. I screamed and leapt off the couch. The raccoon made a quick exit back out the cat door. My cat slept through the whole exchange. I cannot eat this, and it won't feed me, so it does not concern me. The cat, probably. Not quite a pet door situation, but we lived close to the national park in Nairobi. On several occasions monkeys would come into the house through the windows. They'd raid the pantry and make a mess of it. Once my husband was home alone. He heard a noise downstairs, and as he went to investigate, met a monkey coming back upstairs. They both froze. Then he backed up back into the bedroom and the monkey made its way back out through our child's bedroom window. It was quite a hoot. This sound hilarious. Do you have any more monkey stories? Came down one morning to find a peacock in the utility room that had gotten to eat all the cat food. It stayed on our property for about 3 years and we called it Wazak. I'm sure that was a very loud 3 years. A squirrel came in through my parents' cat flap. They don't have a cat but didn't replace the door when they bought the house. I remember walking into the kitchen and having a staring match with this squirrel until he decided he'd had enough and left the way he'd come in. Not very exciting, but still. Squirrels can be pure madness sometimes, so it might very well have been. We had a squirrel get in through a hole in the screen door once. She couldn't figure out how to get back out, so she ping-ponged around the room for a bit, knocking over a bunch of stuff. Kind of similar, I guess. I once walked into the kitchen and noticed that our horse had gotten inside. He had opened a cupboard in the mudroom and was happily munching away on some chaff we had stored there. The pull-down handle to the back door was covered in horse slobber, as was the cupboard door handle. Cheeky bugger. Also, one of our cats has brought in the odd snake. They are very much alive when she deposits them inside the house. Luckily, she usually chooses to leave them in the bath for some reason. I'm just imagining this huge silhouette that's big enough to make your heart stop and then restart when you realize, oh, it's just the horse. Wait, the horse. They have certainly tried, but we have a pet door that only unlocks when the RFID chip on our cat's tag is very close. We also programmed it to not let the cat out after 8 PM. Having said that, one of my cats brought in a respectably sized blackbird of some kind, very much alive. It ended up at a window above the kitchen counter, with the cat sitting right next to it. I had to get a chair to get onto the counter, then shove a broom handle under the bird so it would perch on the broom, then walk backward off the counter to the chair to the floor, then out the back door to let it fly away. Oh, and to keep the bird calm, I locked eyes with it while doing all that. Once the bird flew away, my cat was quite offended all day. What brand do you use, if you don't mind me asking? We looked into getting one but weren't sure if a door would work for the cats to begin, so opted for a regular one to start. Now neighbor cat comes in and pees on everything. A fox pissed on my couch. RIP couch. A family in England had a little boy who used to tell his mother that he had a fox friend that would come sleep with him at night. They didn't believe him, but the boy was insistent. Finally they put up cameras. Sure enough, a little fox would come in the cat door, eat the cat food, then trot upstairs to the boy's room and curl up on the end of the bed for a nap. It would stay a few hours, then trot back outside. They nailed the cat door shut. They posted the video of the fox going through the house on Reddit. Not sure where. Similar story with my cousin. She was quite young, maybe 5 or so. Goes up to bed, comes down again shortly and says there's an owl in my room. Okay sweetheart, go back to bed, it's late etc etc. Cousin is very insistent, so eventually my uncle goes up with her and lo and behold, there's an owl perched on the end of her bed. I forget exactly how they got it out, but no harm came to the bird. My friend lives in the country and has a massive dog door. She's gotten raccoons and fox inside the house before. Luckily the multiple dogs and cats she has generally run them out pretty quickly. Yeah, I found that most wild animals avoid the obvious den of a predator. Australian here. About 10 years ago I saw a snake's tail disappearing into a cupboard. A call to the local wildlife rescue, who then transferred the call to the fire brigade, a hazmat, hazardous materials, unit turned up and extricated the snake from its hidey hole. It turned out to be an eastern brown. https://en.wikipedia.org/eastern_brown_snake snake, the second most venomous snake in the world according to Google. There was a lot of construction nearby turning farmland into industrial complexes. I'd say it was disturbed and scared out from its usual haunts. Edit, added an S in a word, not a SSSSS. I've had enough snakes in the house, thank you. Do you not have snake catchers around you can call? That's what we did when an eastern brown set up shop on our doorstep. Deleted. That might be the cutest home invader ever. I grew up in a house on a lake with a cat door. One time I was in my room gaming and I heard this loud bang quack, wait a few seconds, bang quack, wait a few seconds. Kept repeating. I walked out and one of our cats had caught a fully grown mallard duck and was trying to bring it through the cat door sideways. Bang quack. God, I love it. Not a dog door. If I leave the back door open, one of our turkeys walks in, looks around, chirping, then just as casual leaves. If I don't secure the door, the sheep butts it open, runs around the kitchen island barring loudly, then runs out. Pay the animal tax, turkey tax, sheep tax. I was sleeping on a friend's sofa in London while we were on a fairly long-term job. A month or so and I wake up and there's just a squirrel on the other chair in the living room. I'm like, guys, are you having me on? And from upstairs I hear them say, WTF are you talking about? Do you have a pet squirrel? How have you hidden this from me? Why are you talking about squirrels? It's a duplex thing where you go up some steps outside to the front door, then the living room is back on the ground floor. The only way into the living room is down the stairs or big sliding patio doors that were shut. This squirrel has presumably climbed the outside of the front of the house, gone through the kitchen window, wandered around and come downstairs and then sat in the living room wondering what to do. It also just left of its own accord. Its own acon. We have 4 cats. One day a raccoon came in, stole their dry food, and washed its hands in their water bowl. Our useless cats just sat and watched it happen. Smart move actually. An angry trash panda is not to be messed with. Nothing crazy, but I stayed at someone's house who had one once. Woke up in the middle of the night with a mouse lying down on my chest that came in from outside. My uncle woke up with a skunk on his chest while sleeping next to my auntie. He said time slowed down as he mentally ran through all the possible courses of action. He forced himself to lay there for 10 long minutes until it moved along. Because he could get up and jump away, but my auntie would get the full force of the spray. One time, about 5 or 6 years ago, a goose came inside our house through our cat door, which was a lot bigger than regular cat-dog doors. It came inside in the early morning and I was the first to wake up to noises of honking downstairs. Our kitchen was trashed, and all the glasses plates that were on the counter were broken. The goose got even crazier when I showed up and was trying to escape. It then started chasing me and I took that as an opportunity to run to the front door and open it. Luckily, it chose to fly out instead of attack me. I am from Canada, so the geese here are crazy AF. Canadian here. These are part of Canada's defense plan. Yes. On several occasions. None of them wanted to be indoors, but my cat had other ideas. She got a particular kick out of releasing live squirrels in the kitchen and watching us run around trying to catch them. That's how cats teach you to be better hunters. Neighbor had some sort of miniature dog about the size of a cat. Mom's cat would walk through any open door. So, a couple times per week, we would get a call from the neighbor telling us that the cat was in their house and usually sound asleep on top of the dog. We had a cat door that we left available for use during a 10-day vacation. When we returned, we found that raccoons had made multiple trips into the home, leaving multiple paths of prints over a wide variety of surfaces. They had ransacked our pantry and opened every box and pack of graham crackers. There were 2 boxes in separate cabinets. They enjoyed their snack in the kitchen and the family room, and left most everything else uneaten, albeit destroyed due to their attempts to locate the graham crackers. We've had to remove our cat window recently because our new kitten had started bringing her live catchers into the home, and leaving them, very much alive, to play with later. Primarily chipmunks, moles, and mice. My stepmom got tired of her cats bringing her live presents. She started hiding scrunchies all over the house, under furniture and such. The cats started finding and bringing her the scrunchies. We once moved into a house that already had a cat door installed by the previous owners. As it was the same model we used with our cats, we kept it. Turns out the neighbor's cat used to come in and hang around the house while it was empty. He apparently missed it when we moved in and was not very happy to be greeted by my cats. I've never heard my old girl make sounds as scary as that day, and that cat sure as hell knew he'd made a mistake. I opened the front door and he made a run for it. Our cats kept getting into fights with him until he died a few years later. Wouldn't stay away and kept trying to make our yard his territory. He was bigger and stronger, but our cats were cleverer, especially our old girl, so it kept going back and forth between them. However, he never came into the house again and no other critters did either. Yes. My boys found a bunny nest where they usually lay down in the yard in a flower bed. My two schnauzers found them, 12 in total, and it was a frantic panic to make sure none were injured. One fell into the pool and I rescued it. We rounded them up, not really knowing what to do. Took some photos. Phoned animal control. They got back to us the next day and said it's best to put them back where they were. So we did that and fenced off the area for a week. The mum returned on the second day. It took about 2 weeks for them to leave my yard. My younger dog was pawing the nest several times before we knew it was there. None were hurt. We still see them scurrying around the neighborhood every now and then. Pic of bonus. https://cdn.discordapp.com/attachments/624339820390514708 /1081829133603362856 /20210524_1553446_hdr.jpg close bracket. AWWU paid the bunny tax. My friend's cat rolled in through the cat flap with its new friend, a brush-tail possum. They rolled around the lounge room playing and my friend was like, "MR Whiskers WTF," then she had to herd the possum out the door with a broom. We had a cat door in my mother's house and finally she had to close it off because several opossums and once a skunk came in. Also a few stray cats. If she'd had a dog, maybe it would have discouraged the wildlife. We didn't have a pet door, went on vacation, and somehow the cat let in some raccoons he befriended. No, the wild animals around here are smart enough to not come into a house with 2 terriers. One of my guys is pretty chill and would probably not care if any other critters came in, but the other one is a born hunter and pretty sharp, so he'd get any poor creature that tried. I think they're also pretty good at marking their territory. Haha. Territory. We have a dog door for our boxer, so pretty big. One time a massive moth smacked into it hard enough to open it, and then flew around inside the house until I caught it. I live near the top of a mountain in Australia where the Aboriginal people used to gather and eat the moths, so I guess I should expect it. Yes. I walked into the kitchen at 1 AM, and there was a raccoon eating my Nutri-Grain bars that were in the cupboard. We did the whole half second of staring at each other before 15-year-old me went, "You bastard," and he immediately booked it back out the cat door. With the last bar in its mouth. The fucker. It tried it again the next night, but I was waiting for it and lightly kicked the cat door when I saw it pressed against it and could be sure it wasn't actually a cat. Pretty sure it wasn't injured. I say kicked, but the force I recall using barely met that threshold. It didn't come back. The cat would bring in partially live catches. Our big problem is the dog door is by our apple tree. I saw a bare head poking through the door one night. I leave my bedroom door cracked open so the cat can get in and out during the night. I woke up because I had to pee and heard the crunch of the cat eating dry cat food. But when I turned on the light, it wasn't my cat, it was a raccoon. The cat door got nailed shut in the morning. Well, our house was robbed once, and we're pretty sure the guy got in through the doggy door. Long story short, the guy was actually caught by police a few hundred meters away from our house, with all of our stuff. He didn't have a car and was somehow carrying an insane amount of our possessions. We got our stuff back, and he ended up with jail time because it was his third strike. I thought the first rule of robbing a house with a dog door big enough for you to squeeze through was, don't. We haven't had wild animals, but we did get a neighborhood dog coming in at 4 in the morning once. Our fence at the time was broken, so there was a sizable gap that the dog could squeeze through. Ours was far too clingy to break out and explore, even though he was completely capable of getting out the hole. He was just really looking for a friend, I guess, because he started just romping with our dog and getting each other wound up. Later in the morning, we were able to just walk him over a few houses back to his home. Deleted. My toddler once stuck her head through it, and it took copious amounts of olive oil to get her out. The cleanup was horrendous. Never had another animal come through, but nowadays we use the versions that read the cat's microchips anyway. Not me, but a neighbor when we lived in Charleston, West Virginia near the state forest. My neighbor is watching TV when his 4-year-old little girl says there's a monster in the kitchen and Buster, his dog, is scared of it. He walks in there. A raccoon had come in their dog door and was going to town on a bag of blueberry bagels. It ran back out. That same bastard raccoon would get in my trash regularly. It loved Indian food until I started ordering my takeout Indian hot. We eventually caught it in a humane trap and drive it about 20 miles out into the state forest to set him free. We have a pet door in the back of our house, and have had issues with a particular neighborhood feral cat coming in and getting into confrontations with our other cats. Live in Australia. Had a stumpy tail lizard get into the house, which we didn't notice until it was a dead lump under a carpet. Partner had to chase another lizard out, I think. But that was an incentive to redo the cat enclosure outside the pet door to prevent extremely venomous brown snakes from getting in, I hope. I now have wire mesh under the gate into the enclosure from the outside and wood strips by the hinges. Raccoons come in the cat door and eat the cat food and make their water gross. Sometimes they'll get into the pantry and drag things out the cat door. I think there may be a possum visit here and there. Random neighborhood cats will pop in for a snack. There's a panel that I can slide in to block it at night to stop the raccoons from coming in, but I often forget. I don't really care unless they make a big ruckus, but raccoons are smart, so I think they've realized that making a bunch of noise means they get blocked from the food, so they've been fairly behaved lately. It's a pretty uneventful coexistence, although the cats don't appreciate the unimaginable horror of their food bowl being empty for several hours. Did you know you can buy a cat door that recognizes your cat's microchip and won't open for anyone else? It can have up to 10 cats info stored, I believe. Sounds like you could use one. I live in town and have a dog door. One night I woke up to a possum on the goddamn nightstand. Raccoon came in the house, walked over to the cat food, all the while my mom is shocked, grabs a handful of cat food, and leaves out the door also casually. Lived in an old farmhouse in the African bush where the house doors were always open during the day. We got a new batch of chickens. They didn't like their coop, so they'd wait till they were let out and come into the house to lay eggs. It got silly till their coop was redone and they deigned to lay there. Warthogs break through our fence, especially in the dry season, to eat the garden and the poultry food. They discovered they could get to the pantry and knock over the big bin of dog food. Heaven. Following on from that, one night I heard noises from the porch. A warthog had managed to push open the door, which was spring-loaded, so it closed again. I went to check on the noise and was faced with this huge pig, which ran the wrong way into the lounge. There was much screaming and yelling from the adults as we attempted to chase this pig out the house before it caused major damage. And all the other critters that have found their way in over the years. The most surprising part about all the replies so far is how many people leave their doors wide open. Doesn't your house fill with bugs immediately? No screen doors? Oh well, the more you know. Some areas have more active insect populations than others, especially with different species and all that. My family would open our back doors from about April to May because the weather was nice enough and bug populations were down during those months. Granted, we also didn't have a lot of wildlife around, so that probably also helped in that regard. Yes, we had a family of raccoons living in the backyard. Our dog was blind and deaf. Came down one night and a raccoon had gotten in the dog food bin. I closed the lid on it and drove it out to a rich neighborhood and let it loose. Ended up live trapping the rest of the raccoon family. Did you release them into the rich neighborhood, too? Well, a stray cat got to my other cats, but the entire area is closed off for the cats so they can sunbathe in peace, and I was feeding the cats during the incident and the thickest grey cat, I'm talking 30-35 centimeter wide cat, walks in through the cat door and eats all the food. A meth dealer once tried to break in through the dog door at the house I lived in college. Does that count? He used to live in my room. He got thrown in the slammer and was out on bail or something. I don't really know the specifics, but he wanted his stuff back, I guess. So the landlord, my roommate, bought his mattress off him and told him to come back in an hour for his clothes. We never had a dog door, for reasons that will soon be clear, but we did have a king brown snake hanging around the front door on the veranda. Closed the door quite swiftly when I saw it. Called the reptile control service. Turned out we had a whole family of king browns living under the house. Unfortunately, they all drowned a few weeks later due to a pipe burst. We did often have kangaroos on the front lawn, but they didn't usually try to get inside. Just chased me on my way to school. Lizards also got into the house garden all the time. Edit, king, not kind. Although I'm sure the fella was nice enough. Not through a dog door, but we regularly sit inside with the windows open at night. When we do, we have microbirds flying through the house catching bugs off the lights. They are so tiny and fast they are hard to see. They fly in one window and out of the other. Deleted. Not a wild animal, but when I had 2 Jack Russells, they had a cat flap, and the amount of times I would come down to the kitchen in the morning to see them curled up with next door's cat sitting on them in their bed was hilarious. They were raised with cats, so they just accepted her as their new queen dart. One of them also brought another neighbor's ferret in after it escaped from its pen and wandered into our garden. They didn't hurt the little dude and were more bemused by him and the fact that he really didn't want to be licked to death by them. A raccoon got into my mother's house. It went into her bedroom and tore down the blinds and then pooped all over the stuffed animals she had in her window seat. She has an opossum that visits her garage every night. She feeds it the fancy cat food that the vet prescribed for her cat, which the cat won't eat. No wild animals, but plenty of cats. We get visited by around 6 different cats at our current property. They all have homes and are well taken care of, but cats gotta be cats.